of Irenaeus of Lyons wrote, "The glory of God is a human being fully alive." 2,000 years ago, he said, the glory of God, or spirit, or love, or source, energy, whatever word you want to use, is a human being fully alive. So the question then becomes, if you want to experience the glory of God, of source, of quantum consciousness, of the universe, of all that is, of energy, what is it that makes you totally and fully alive? Is it when you are creating something, maybe? A piece of art? A new recipe? Is it when you build something with your hands? Or maybe you dig in the garden with your hands? Maybe what makes you feel most alive is studying and learning something new, or marching in the streets for something that you believe in. Or maybe it's spending time with your kids or your grandkids or your furry kids. Maybe you feel most alive when you are spending time with Mother Nature, or maybe being in service. I invite you to keep this in mind, whatever that is for you, that which makes you feel most alive. I want you to keep this in mind as we begin to unpack together the next 2 chapters of Barbara Brown Taylor's book, An Altar in the World, her beautiful, beautiful book. So this morning, we're looking at the practice of living with purpose and saying no, which are connected, I promise, but I'll get back to that. I'll get to that in a minute. So I've been doing this work for a while now, and I have to tell you that I see a lot of people who struggle with the idea of finding their life's purpose. Anybody? Okay. Or maybe it's that at one point their purpose was very clear. You know, say it was to raise great kids, and now those kiddos are at college. And so they're not necessarily feeling like they are fulfilling their life purpose any longer, right? Or maybe it's just that they are at a job that doesn't feel in alignment necessarily. Doesn't feel like they're at a job that is their life purpose. So this word purpose has a lot of weight to it, doesn't it? And it's gotten a bit convoluted over time, I must tell you. You know, the countless self-help books about finding your purpose and, you know, living a purpose-filled life and don't lose your purpose. I mean, oof. You know, and the thing is the actual original meaning of the word purpose simply meant to put forth something with intention. To put forth something with intention. That's all. It's that simple. Absolutely. No existential, you know, or midlife crisis, no young adult angst connected with it. Just to put forth something with intention. How we complicate things. A little bit. Barbara Brown Taylor writes, one common problem for people who believe that God has one particular job in mind just for them is that it is almost never the job they are presently doing. This means that those who are busiest trying to figure out God's purpose for their lives are often the least purposeful about the work that they are already doing. Now remember, purpose is simply what you are giving to the world, however big or small. That's it. But so often we get it backwards, and metaphysically, it's backwards. When someone is doing something saying, but it's not my purpose. And here's what I want to say about that. If someone, you or someone is in a place where they may be thinking, well, this is just a stepping stone to where I want to be. So I can, kind of phone it in. You are completely missing the point. To see, feel, and hear God, spirit, source, love, the life-giving force that matches your energy field and propels us forward into more of our purpose, we can't phone it in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're doing because spirit matches the energy that we put out into the world and expands it, moves it forward, propels it forward. Do you see? So we teach that this is a loving universe, that God is always, spirit is always conspiring for our good. So the deal is our purpose is not outside of ourselves. Our purpose is not outside, lurking in some new, better, shinier job or partner. Or it's not on some mountain in the middle of nowhere. Or, in the center of a crystal ball in some psychic's shop on the side of the road. Our purpose lives within us. So, if we're bored out of our minds at a job that drives us batty, spirit is there. It's there. If we are in the throes of life's most challenging circumstances, spirit is right there with us. If we are in school with no idea what we want to be when we grow up, spirit is right there with us. If we are wiping butternut squash off the chin of our toddler, spirit is definitely right there with us. Our divine purpose is who we are and where we are right now within us. And it is so easy to miss that. It's so easy to miss that, even when it's right in front of our own eyes. This happened in my own life. For those of you who don't know, in my previous life here on earth, I was an actor. I started young. I was 12 when I started. And it was my whole life, and it's what I thought was my purpose. And, I did the whole thing. Went to drama school in London and worked in theater and TV and film, and that was my normal. I was very grateful, very, very grateful. But that was my normal, and that was it. And I absolutely assumed that that was my life purpose. And the thing is over time, I would find myself late at night with this longing in the center of my chest, which I came to learn was my heart chakra, and I couldn't name it. I couldn't name what that disconnect was. I couldn't name it. Now, I was always a seeker, and when I wasn't in a show or on a set or in auditioning for whatever I was auditioning for, you could find me at the local spiritual bookstore in Hollywood with a big cup of chamomile tea surrounded by a bigger, gigantic pile of books. That was my happy place. Learning about Jesus and Buddha and feng shui and crystals and you name it. I loved it all. I loved it all. I even sang at a couple of CSLs. And I remember sitting, I was asked, this was a gig, right? I was asked to sing. So I remember crying through some of the meditations. I'd never heard anything like that before. Crying through some of the sermons, the talks. I'd never heard anything like that before. And yet, it wasn't even a reality to me that I could A, belong in a community like that, or B, do anything with it. So I stayed for a long time in a job that was my livelihood. I made my living at it. It brought me joy and happiness, but I still had a longing, something inside of me that I couldn't name. Now, my spiritual studies became a really big hobby, kind of like Jay Leno with his classic car hobby, size hobby, like, I ended up with, garages full of books. But my point is, I moved along, not knowing what the disconnect was until one day, about 20 years ago or so, I was on a movie set, and it was a big movie with a lot of famous people, and I was really, really nervous and really insecure. I didn't have the tools that we teach here yet. And I remember being on set, and we were in between rehearsing for the next scene, and I would mutter under my breath, but just loud enough so that the people right around me could hear all of my not enoughness comments, all of my insecurity. Oh, I can't believe I did it that way. Oh, that was awful. I don't know what I'm doing here. That nonsense. And there was a woman who was in the scene with me. She's an actor, and she just would turn to me and very gently, after every time I would do that, she would very gently just kind of look at me and say, "That's not the truth of you. Are you kidding me? Look where you are, honey. You're great. You're wonderful." She would just subtly reframe for me and remind me of my worth, because in those days I didn't have a lot of it. And I remember turning to her and just going, how do you do that? Like, what is all that? I want that. And she said, well, I belong to this community. And some people call it a church, some people call it a spiritual center, but it's a community where we teach that. And I'm what's called a practitioner. And I said, where? What is that place? I want to go there. What is it called? And she said, it's called Agape. And that Sunday was my first Sunday at Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. And for those of you who don't know Agape, just Google Dr. Michael Beckwith at Agape, and you'll get a feel for it. So a beautiful, beautiful community, Centers for Spiritual Living kind of community like this one. And I never looked back, and pretty soon my whole life changed. The thing is, in sharing this story with you, what I want you to know is that often the big, shiny brass ring disguised as your purpose is either a counterfeit piece of scrap metal, or it's a very shiny object trying to get your attention to wake you up to your true life purpose, which very well may be in your own kitchen or backyard or church. Barbara Brown Taylor writes, "It is always possible that one's true work in the world is not what one does for a living." Some of us have big, kind of obvious life purpose. We have a big life purpose. Brian, you, for example, your music is so big and beautiful, and your life purpose is very clear. And for many of us, it's more subtle than that. Often it's a compilation of the beautiful little things that make us who we are, you know? Notice, if you will, the little things that soften the tightness in your body temple. Notice what that is for you. When I would sit with my spiritual books, the tightness in my chest would soften. I didn't realize that the reason was because I was so filled with joy when I was studying about world religions and spiritual stuff. But that's what softened the tightness in my chest. The worry, the angst. So what is that for you? Maybe you're a person maybe you're one of those people who strikes up a conversation with the guy at the pet shop who seems lonely. Maybe that's part of your purpose. Maybe you delight in bringing food items for our Caring Corner, which is supporting people in our community who are currently in need. Maybe it's about being of service to others. Maybe for you, it's taking your grandkids to the mall. You can take mine to the mall. I'm not a big fan of the mall. Maybe it's giving your old, sweet dog a gentle jaunt around the block. Maybe that's part of your life purpose. Maybe it's listening to your teenaged kids talk about their troubles for the umpteenth time with total love and compassion in your heart. Maybe that's part of your life purpose. I invite you to notice the people, the activities, the places that bring you joy, and how you support them, because that is really an indicator that those things are an integral part of your life purpose. So much of the, I call them get-rich-quick schemes, that you see, the self-help stuff that's always promises out there, out there, out there. It's counterfeit. Your life purpose is not out there. It's not something to chase or find or seek. It is always, always, always within you. So turn within. Notice what makes you happy, what lightens your load, and do more of that. Because that is your life purpose. So over the years, I've done a lot of talks and I've done a lot of workshops on things like your sacred yes. In leadership workshops, I talk a lot about leading with yes, which is very, very important. In mediation, we teach getting to yes. Shonda Rhimes wrote a really great book called Your Year of Yes. A lot of yes. And what I've learned in my own journey, and what I've begun to apply to my life on a regular basis, is that when we can get to the place in our journey where we are unapologetic and very, very comfortable saying things like, no, that doesn't feel right to me. Or, no, you may not speak to me like that. Or, no, I'm not going to take that on and add it to my plate right now. No, thank you. When we can get to the place that our mindful, thoughtful no's are actually our sacred yeses, we are living our life in God. We are living our life in love. When we mindfully say no to something, it is our sacred yes. Do you get that? So just this week, just a few days ago across the globe, millions of people flooded the streets around the world saying, no more destroying our earth. That is their sacred yes. That is our sacred yes. What a powerful sacred yes in that no. Right? So, this week, I want to invite you to notice where you feel fully alive, no matter how big or small the scenario, the situation is, and do more of that. I invite you to recognize that your life purpose is the sum total of who you are and where you are right now as you are. And it is beckoning you to listen, to pay attention, and to move forward with that. And finally, recognize that the practice of saying no is in fact your sacred yes. This frees you up. It frees you up to say no more in a big, bold way, to love yourself more. So I invite you this week as you move forward with these ideas of your life purpose and who you truly are, and that your no is your sacred yes. I invite you to let God be seen, heard, and felt through you in the ways that you serve your community, your family, your corner of the world. You know? Let them see you in me. Let them hear you when I sing. Let them feel you when I speak. Let them see you. Let them see you in me. You are so loved. Thank you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's end.